Welcome to PHP Podcast. I'm Mike.
And this is Orlando, and it's time for episode 291.
291? Oh my goodness.
You know what's strange about what just happened? We didn't even have to cue each other that we're going to start this episode. We just sat quietly in front of this and just started it.
Yeah, it's how we do it.
We're just so used to doing the podcast.
That's right. Yeah,
it's a great feeling.
Yeah, but the listeners heard a cool, musical sound intro, and
that is
boom,
true,
we started. So they don't have to know that we sat here for 30 minutes awkwardly waiting to start it.
No,
here we go. Today is one of our update episodes. So we're going to be talking all things reselling. We're going to be giving some updates with reselling in our own personal lives, some random stories. We've got updates and like the reselling world, so reselling news. Then we're going to do some BOLOs, so items you should be picking up. So if you are new to reselling or you've been reselling a while, definitely stick around for the whole thing because the BOLOs can be really helpful. There's items that you should be picking up to be flipping on eBay or locally. And so we love our update episodes. How are things going for you?
They're good. So they're good, but in an interesting way. So lately, I have not been sourcing as much. And part of it's been that I am trying to maximize my time. And so what I mean is, so back in the day when I first was a full-time reseller, I had a lot of time on my hands in the sense that, I had a decent amount saved up when I had left my full-time position. And at the same time, it was just a different stage in life. Like I was living in a place where my rent was a third less than I'm paying now. My kids were young, so it wasn't as expensive. And so, it was just a different time. And so I had a lot of time on my hands. I could spend, all day. Those of you that remember PHP Podcast Instagram, the first year, I was sourcing every day, pretty much every day, whether it was Amazon, retail arbitrage, whether it was going to a thrift store, garage, or whatever, every single day. And if you guys have been following us since then, you've noticed that on Instagram, I don't show as much sourcing anymore. Generally, it's just Saturdays and sometimes on Wednesdays, but that's all I'm doing really is sourcing, which is kind of strange because you would think if you're full time, you should be sourcing every day. But here's the thing. I developed a ton of inventory and that is listed. And then I have a lot of inventory that's not listed. On top of that, my family time is way more affected now. Like I can't tell you how little time I actually have in the day.
Is it worse now that kids are teenagers or like when kids are little? What do you think?
It's worse when they're teenagers. It's worse because when
let us know in the comments below for you as a reseller or just in life in general. Were you busier when the kids were little or as they got older? Did it make reselling
and everybody
easier,
might be
harder?
different.
Yeah.
I just know for me, my kids when they're younger were way more preoccupied. Like, you throw on the show for them or they have their playpen, whatever you call it, where now it's like I have to go to this sporting event or there's like this awards banquet or there's, hey, Dad, can I catch a ride here? Or it's a whole different thing. And so my time is so much more affected. So we're actually dropping an episode Monday about why you need to be organized as a reseller. And part of it is that as your life changes, whether you're part-time or full-time, you're going to find that you're going to have to kind of, move around what you do in order to be efficient. And so I've been doing a lot more sourcing, like I said, just on garage sales and just on Wednesdays, maybe I'll hit a thrift or I'll do some local deals. And I've always said this, there is so much to source. If I had an endless amount of time and endless amount of money, I could source probably 24 hours a day, right? Whether it be sourcing on eBay, Facebook Marketplace, local deals, flea markets, thrift stores, like I'm just going to be all right with it. Sourcing should never be an excuse. You should never come to a place that I can't find anything. Like that is to me impossible.
And it may take you a little while. Like if you haven't figured out if you haven't figured out what niches you're into
Correct.
or what it could be a little bit more challenging. Or just getting your foot in the door. So part of it is like the educational process getting there.
True.
So even things like auctions or something like that, like you might be like, I don't know what to do or how to do this. And so you spend a little bit of time learning that, but then once you learn it, the opportunities just are going to keep coming up. And it might not be like, hey, I'm going to an auction every day, but you might be busy enough that you do one auction every couple of weeks and you're getting enough inventory to last you for a long time. So sourcing definitely shouldn't be what's holding you back as long as, you know what you're doing and it takes a little bit to get there.
Yeah, it's true. So, for example, this last garage sale, I've been really strategic. I'm always strategic in my garage sales, but I've been really strategic in the sense that now I will get up early. So for example, if you caught our Instagram story, somebody was selling a bunch of video games and the garage sale was at 8 a.m. And I showed up to the garage sale at 6:30 a.m. because I'm like, I will win. I will not lose this. And so I showed up, and unfortunately, it wasn't a big of a haul as I thought. I was going to pick up about 30 video games, and I thought they were going to sell them for like $1 or $2 a piece. And I found out that they wanted top dollar on almost all of them. And so you got to be careful. Like sometimes it's good to do a huge buyout, which that's not even huge. 30 games isn't even huge, but you know, they wanted like $100 something. And I started looking and I'm like, nope, not this one, not this one, not this one. So eventually I did agree upon, if you caught it, on 5 games. I bought 2 N64 games in box with the manual and everything, and stuff like that goes for money, right? I had showed on Instagram this last week, Carl. I've been listing all my old inventory in for my death rooms. I know that sounds terrible, but you know, people talk about death piles. That's what I'm talking about. Okay. And so, you know, I came across these old GameCube games that for whatever reason, I didn't have them listed. They just sat there. And luckily they sat there for 3 years because they tripled in value over that time. And so things are changing. So I bought those games. I bought like a vintage fan. I bought all kinds of stuff. If you caught the Instagram, I bought patio furniture, which is great. You know, 60
for yourself. For
myself. So nice. Yeah, which you know, $60 for a glass table and 6 chairs. Like you can't beat that. So next I'm gonna buy a Traeger here pretty soon. That's not gonna get thrifted. I'm gonna just go to Costco and buy my Traeger. Costco, please sponsor us, or Traeger. And so, you know, it's gonna be a good summer. But another thing I've been noticing is that I'm getting a lot of sales. But they're not like consistent home run sales, which kind of bothers me a little bit. So when I first went full time, I didn't work as hard. I would say, well, no, I don't work as hard as I did first full time, but when I first went full time, but I'm finding that I'm having to work more now than I'm used to. I don't know if that makes sense.
So there was like a sweet spot in the middle where you were kind of coasting.
100%. Yeah. Like coasting a lot, like 4-hour days. Like it was beautiful. And now it's getting back to 8-hour days. And the reason being is I'm finding that people are more buying cheaper items than the more expensive items. So for example, different YouTubers say, you should sell, 10 items at $30 a day to make $300 a day or something like that. Right. And so I watched that and I'm like, no, like I just got to sell like 5 at $60 a piece and I'm good. Right. So it wouldn't stress me. I'm like, hey, by noon, if I sell 5 items and I make $300, I'm good. And everything else is icing on the cake. Well, now I'm finding that I'm like selling like 10 to 15 items to make that 300. Mm-hmm. So it's taking up more time. That means I got to ship more items. That means I have to pick more items.
There was more to list, more items you had to list.
Yeah, there's more lists to replenish those that sold. And so it's been kind of strange because, sales have been up, but it's been the same dollar amount. It's just been more work to get the same dollar amount. And maybe that's kind of a sign of a downturn economy that people are maybe stingier about what they buy. I don't know what it is, but it's, rare are the days where I get several items that sell for over $100. Now it's, 1 or 2 maybe a day if things are good.
That might be the shift, right? Like we've talked about, resellers always have to adapt, and the ones that are willing and able to adapt are going to be the ones that are going to be successful. Mm-hmm. And, nobody knows exactly what's going to happen with the economy and when it's going to happen. If we did, we'd be, millionaires. Yeah. So you can have ideas and general trends and things like that. But we adapted during the 2020 crisis. We adapted before that. We adapted after that. Things have changed. And so this might be the new adaptation we have to make is as we're going into a more downturn economy, people are going to be more frugal. They're going to want to save, which means they're going to be buying secondhand. However, they're probably not buying as many luxury items. So this might be hopefully a short period of time where you are having to sell more inventory in order to make that same amount. But the nice thing is we have that capability, right? If you're a construction worker and then all of a sudden houses aren't being built or buildings aren't being built, there's no adapting there. Yeah. There's certain industries and of course there's always going to be jobs needed in every field, but there are going to be fields that are just going to be hit super hard and there's nothing that you can do about it if you're in that field. Whereas as a reseller, you just, okay, well, I guess I'm selling cheaper items and just more of them. And it gets you through that period of time.
No, agreed. And so that's kind of where I'm at. It's been weird. I'm not gonna lie. I'm so used to home run after home run. Now, not gonna say there haven't been home runs, but what's been carrying things through have been, I would say, not just bread and butter. I would say it's kind of like the initially it was like the nice sourdough from San Francisco kind of bread, right? The nice organic butter, and now it's just
artisan
like
bread.
Now it's just like the Walmart brand kind of bread.
Some Wonder Bread. Some Sara Lee.
Wonder Bread's still good. Sara Lee, I'm talking about like true value. That's what I'm talking about.
Okay, we're going like, you're almost like saltine cracker. You know,
no, but there's less than saltine cracker. There's true value saltine
That's
cracker.
true.
or Archer Farms at Target, which is actually, some reason, don't you find that the private label food tastes better from Target than Walmart, even though it's probably the same?
I don't think it's the same. I mean, I'm sure it's similar, but yeah, I don't know.
Are you just a name brand kind of guy?
I'm not. No, I've always been the off brand. I grew up. When I was a kid, what we would do is we would go to the grocery store and we'd look at the price per ounce for everything. And so it was, how many ounces can I get for the cheapest price? Because we wanted to like fill our body with volume, like just food. And so it was how little can I pay in order to get as much? So it was always the off brand, and usually like the deal of the off brand. And then my wife has shown me that there definitely, since I married her, there are definitely things that the on brand just tastes better. Like there's some things that are close, you can't tell the difference. But there's a lot of things that are generic, as it were, that are basically the exact same thing, especially products. When it comes to products, usually generic is almost the exact same. When it comes to food, there's going to be a little bit of
difference between real Nilla wafers and like true value,
or craft cheese, sliced cheese versus like the plastic. I got
a quick, like, I know we're not talking about reselling, but dude,
hey, but saving money,
there is such a difference. Because I remember one time I went to the dollar store and I saw sliced cheese for hamburgers, and I'm like, $1 instead of $8,
yeah.
Dude,
plastic. It's plastic.
I put it on the grill, and I had an infrared grill. I don't know if you know about infrared grills, but I used to be able to cook my burgers in 8 minutes, 4 minutes, and like super like well done. That cheese didn't melt.
It doesn't melt. It's plastic.
It was so scary.
Even plastic melts. It's something else. Yeah.
It was so scary. Anyways, let us know about your favorite off-brand out there.
Yeah,
I'm big on Costco. Anything from Costco, it's
Kirkland. Well, because Kirkland, they don't mess around.
They buy the brand and just put Kirkland on it.
Yeah, they figure out where. It's just like Amazon. Like Costco is the kind of like the Amazon in that sense, that they'll bring a product.
Amazon's like Costco.
True. Yeah. They'll bring a product in, they'll find out where it's being sourced, and then they'll make it and produce it themselves if it's really good. Not every brand. They don't do that for everything, but there are a lot of things that they'll go Kirkland on that, yeah, it's really good stuff.
All right. Anyways, enough about me. How are things for you?
Pretty good. I took this week off from sourcing. It was just a listing and organizing day, which those days aren't the like life-giving days in reselling,
no, that's where I'm at right now.
But it's the work, and you got to kind of look at what the goal is. The goal is not just to source a bunch of things that can make a bunch of money, but it's to actually make money. Mm-hmm. And so, yeah, there's going to be a fun part of that. And then there's going to be the part that's not so fun. And quote of the week, I heard one that I thought was pretty good. I may have actually even said this one already before, but it was something to the effect of, if you don't sacrifice for the thing you want becomes the sacrifice. Right. And
that's so true.
So true. I think of like, okay, well, what is it that I want? And part of that is financial freedom. So if I'm not willing to sacrifice and say, you know what, I'm going to go in the hot shed and I'm going to take pictures and I'm going to pack stuff and I'm going to reorganize. And that's what my Saturday is. Instead of going to garage sales and having the thrill of the hunt, if I don't make that sacrifice, then financial freedom is that much further away. And so I've been willing to do that. And part of it was like testing items. So, how it is, like you're not just going to be like, oh, I'm going to list a bunch of VCRs today. Like sometimes you got to spend some time to actually like test, okay, which ones work, which one don't. Then you put them in piles and write and then you list them afterwards to take pictures. So I bought all those really nice cameras, those 3 really nice cameras.
That's
so
right.
The battery finally came in. It's a camera that's not made anymore, so the batteries aren't like easy to get. Normally for those kinds of things, you can get the off-brand batteries on Amazon. I had to like...
So refresh our audience real quick. What do you mean the cameras?
Yeah, so I was at a church rummage sale, and it was like a big mega church, and they had nice cameras in the back that they use, but they're old, which I'm assuming they had the system set up so that they were running it basically live streaming with these 3 cameras. And they're Canons. I can't remember what they are at the moment. XL H1s, I think. And great lenses. They're really nice cameras, but the problem is they're the little tapes, like the little tiny tapes, DV tapes, I think.
The mini DVs.
Yeah. So I had to buy one of those because I didn't have one of those. and I had to buy a battery for the camera to actually test everything to make sure it works. So part of my time was doing that and getting all that stuff tested. And then I was looking at the other things, like since I'm talking about, recent finds and testing things, testing the PSP, which I couldn't get to work. I'm like, all right, do I buy a battery or sell it as is? And we talked about maybe selling it refurbished. And then same thing with the Game Boy, which is really
for
cool.
parts, you mean not refurbished?
Yeah. Sell it to somebody to refurbish,
Okay,
right? Like,
there you go.
There's people who will like just take them from you, or sell it for parts. But it was really neat because like the Game Boy Advance that I got is missing the battery cover. And like you can go on eBay and I was just like Game Boy Advance, model number, battery cover. And they have, they're off brand. They're not like the Game Boy ones, but they have the Game Boy logo on it. And you can get any color and they're like $2. And I'm like, man, it's like,
yeah.
And you can get a new screen for it. The screen has scratches and it's like $8 for a new screen. And you just a couple of screws, take it off, you put the new screen on and it's like it's brand new. And so part of me is still trying to weigh out like, okay, what do I just list? I'm like, well, maybe I just list things right now as is for parts. And then if it doesn't sell within a certain amount of time, then I buy the parts and fix it up. But with the PSP, and I'm interested to hear what the audience thinks about this one. So I need to do a little bit more research as far as the cost on it. But I love the part of technology I love is like coding stuff. I'm not like really good at coding or software programming or anything. But anytime I get a chance to like get an old laptop and then you put Linux on it and mess around, or take an Amazon Fire, an old Amazon Fire tablet and change it into like a Linux operating. It's fun. I love doing that stuff. And so they mod PSPs. It's one of the reason why PSPs still sell so well isn't because it's like got the same nostalgia of like, I want a Nintendo 64, but PSPs are relatively simple to mod and you can pretty much play any old PlayStation 1, and I think most like PlayStation 2 games and all PSP games on it. Now, there's the legal aspect of like actually putting the games on, putting the emulate, or not the emulator, but the what do they call them? Anyways, putting the actual game on the ROM. That's what it's called. So technically, it's a gray area. If you own the game, you're technically allowed to put ROMs on it and all that stuff. But the actual modding process so that the PSP can do it, I have a model that's like one of the most famous ones to mod. So I'm like, maybe I just mod it and sell it modded, because you can sell them modded on eBay. And some of them that are sold modded come with ROMs. Some of them don't. And people just know like, I'll put my own ROMs on them. But I'm like, I might be able to make a little bit more if I spend 10, 15 minutes modding this thing and actually having like a pretty cool, because then it does a lot more than just play PSP games. So that's something I'm considering doing, maybe make a little bit more. But I don't know about the ethical. It's not illegal to mod it. There's the gray area of actually putting the ROMs on it. So I'm not going to do that. But if somebody wants a modded PSP because they can do whatever they want on it, they can do whatever they want on it when they get it. I don't know. What do you think? What are your thoughts on that?
I'm like, if you can sleep at night kind of guy, then go for it.
Yeah. I don't know, but it is fun to play emulated games. Like, have you ever like done that on like kind of computer or something, or even like my phone?
There was a guy I knew in college. He had a PS2. He had a PS2, but he had it modded, and he had like every single PlayStation 2 game known to man. Now he had it modded in a way where he had burned games. Yeah, yep. And like he had like 300 games, man, and we just it was good times. Yep. Good times.
Yeah, I modded our Wii so that it plays basically every console except for N64 is a really difficult one to emulate. And then I've got Raspberry Pis that can do the same thing. So it's a fun thing to do. But I'm not sure whether I'm going to do it or not. So yeah,
let us know in the comments
below. Should I mod or not mod? To mod or not to mod? Which, you know what? I've always wanted to bring this up on a podcast. Maybe this is the time to do it. And I don't know if this is going to like, somebody might be like, you just killed my industry, but I love audiobooks. Love audiobooks and some Kindle books. You know, I do Kindle a lot too. And there's times where it's like, okay, like I'm reading through the Wheel of Time series again for the second time, listening to it on Audible. And the first time I listened to the series, 5-6 years ago, I listened to it and I was using my friend's Audible account. He already had them all. So he just,
I have a bunch of credits to give you too, by the way.
Yes. So this time through, I'm like, I'm just going to buy the audiobooks myself. And so I've been buying them every month as I get a credit, buy another one. But there have been times where I've like looked onto eBay and you can get audiobooks or Kindles of like full series, like the entire, like every book that's ever been written by Stephen King, or every book in this series. It might be like 30 books and you might pay 25 or 30 bucks. And it's literally somebody burned, either on a disc, like a DVD audio disc or a USB drive. And it's just the files. And I look at how many they've sold in their rankings. And it's like, they've sold like hundreds of these. Mm-hmm. They're selling them for 30 bucks a piece. They literally are just copy and sending it out. how are they not getting like, what's the deal with that?
I don't know.
Like, is that against eBay? It has to be against eBay policy.
Yeah.
So but how is it that some of these
eBay is
people
listening to our podcast, so now a bunch of people's stores are gonna get suspended.
Well, but that's the thing is like if they don't know, like they have to know that that's happening. It just seems bizarre to me. So I don't know. But it makes me wonder, like, how much can you get away with? Not that I want to get away with any of that stuff, but like, why is it that some people can seem to get away with those things? And we had an episode about like what we were talking about.
Yeah, don't get banned,
you know? But it just amazes me. I don't know, maybe some of these set up accounts and they're basically just burner accounts that they know they're going to get banned every, few weeks or whatever.
People buy accounts all the time.
That's crazy.
Yeah, I know some people that have like 10 accounts and like they know that 2 or 3 of them are probably going to get banned.
That's crazy. It's like eBay.
Like I know them, like I know who they are. Like I'm not friends with those people. Just be clear. Because somebody else the other day said like, called me, I forget where it was in comments that I was like shady because I suggested something illicit. And I'm like, I'm just suggesting what's already out there. Like I'm not bringing.
Well, I don't think you suggested it. I think you were just mentioning it. I think the point the person made was like, we shouldn't bring light to it. Is it like, don't even mention that so it doesn't give people ideas, but I mean, people have already got to know that there's
don't sell stolen stuff. Just don't do it.
Don't do
okay.
That.
Just people do steal stuff. Just let you know and sell it on eBay. All right. Hey, before we move on, let's talk about something positive here. And that is our Discord. Our Discord continues to grow. I love the thriving community. Yeah. We always have this disclaimer that we're not a cook group. We're not a bolo group. But I think those of you that listen pretty much understand. If you're new to us, we're not about that. We're all about bringing a community that, hey, sometimes reselling can be a solitary process. Sometimes you don't want to celebrate the wins on social media because social media is just, a lot of fakeness out there, but we want to keep it real in the Discord. We do have our bolos. We have our hustle of the week. We have tips and tricks. We have lessons learned. A lot going on in there.
Questions, rants. What I love so much about it is over the last, several days even, we've started to see that certain members in the Discord, like they have their niche and they're the go-to person. Like
I'm learning so much.
We've got like the go-to Pokemon card person. We've got the go-to book selling person. We've got the go-to auction person, the go-to consignment person, and the go-to and people who know their field. And so it's just really cool. Like if you got a question, you just ask it, and there's somebody who knows that field in the group, and it's really cool just to have this community. And so yeah, if you want to join the Discord, you've got to become a Patreon supporter. So if
it's only 18.5 cents a day if you join the Patreon.
Are you doing that? So like less than a cup of coffee.
It's not even
a month. So yeah, so it's like I think like $5 for the month, $5.55 for a month. And again, we don't hide any of our content behind a paywall, so this isn't like, hey, extra episodes are going to be here. But it is just a way for you to support the podcast. You don't even have to join the Discord. You might be like, I don't want to be a part of another community, but I support the podcast. I think you guys are putting good stuff out there. So we'd love for you to join the Patreon at least, and then we'll give you the Discord link, and you can be as active or inactive and just lurk if you want to.
Yeah, I'm part of some Discords and I just lurk. I don't say a word. So again, patreon.com/PeersOfPodcast, and there's a link below. Thank you to all of you that have already signed up. Appreciate every single one of you. All right, random stories. So I'll go first here. So I don't know what to do here. And there's no way for me to make this right. I didn't do anything wrong, but I was at the thrift the other day, and I love like vintage, like Tonka trucks and all like Lionel trains. Like I love all these vintage toys. And so I went, and there was a vintage Tonka truck, and it was beautiful. I had the patina, the rust. I'm like, this is not only is it worth money, but this is like a collector thing, right? And I picked it up. And then out of nowhere, this lady, like a little in front of me, goes, hey, you. And I was like, I usually when I'm out thrifting, unless somebody says, hey, Orlando. So if you see me out in the wild, say, hey, Orlando, don't say, hey, you, because usually I ignore people because, I always, I don't know. I find that, people are kind of savage at the thrift. So I mind my own business. And they tap me on the shoulder, like, hey, do you want this? And I'm like, what is it? And they're like, well, look, I saw you got the Tonka trunk. I think this goes along with your Tonka stuff. Do you want it? And I was like, are you sure? Because I knew it was money. And it was one of those grab bags. So it was like $20. And in there was items I knew automatically would sell for good money. I'm like, are you sure? Like, yeah. I saw you got the truck. I'm like, yeah, I like I like collecting, these trucks, but I also resell. I'm like, no, just take it. And, so it was a $20 bag, and then within 24 hours, I listed there was like a trailer and it was yellow, and there weren't many of those on eBay, and I sold it like within 24 hours for $87 plus ship. And I kind of felt bad. Like, should I have like given her one of my items? Should I have like paid her for it, or should I just be grateful?
So is it 20? They gave you the bag, not just like they saw it in the store and while you were still shopping, they gave it to you? It was after you were...
No, while I was shopping. Shopping.
So you paid for the bag?
Yeah, I paid for the bag.
Oh, I mean, I don't have to do nothing. That's just someone being nice.
All right. It was really nice.
Yeah, I mean, what are you going to do? Like, hey, let me get your Insta real quick. So in case I make money off this, I'll split the profit with you. I'm not a consignment store, thank you for helping me.
Well, it's crazy because all those items, so in that bag, I'm probably going to make close to $200 on it. Just that bag. And then the other Tonka truck, I'm probably going to make like $250.
Do you think the other person was a reseller?
No.
Oh, well then, yeah. They weren't going to take the time to resell it anyways.
Yeah. So anyways,
that's kind of nice though.
Yeah,
super nice.
It was nice. And then my other random story is I had mentioned on Instagram and on Discord how I networked with somebody who had bought a bunch of Harley stuff from, and I went back to their house. And you ever pick up those items that you're like, I don't know if I'm going to pick this up again, but then you get caught in the trap and you pick it up again. Right. So I went there and I did buy a lot of stuff, but they had all these inflatables. Now, inflatables in theory make money. Like in my head, they make money because every time I source one. So you know what I mean? Like those Halloween things that people put on their lawn or Christmas. Or
big inflatable decoration.
Yeah. So every time I check comps, it's like always good money. And I'm like, maybe I should pick this up. And so, we went in and I had like 50 items I was going to buy. And then the person had like some outrageous number that they wanted for it. So I was like, how about we cut this out? I only bought like 10 items. And it's one of those things where these people are really trustworthy. And I don't think they meant anything negative of it. But when you get that vibe, you're like, I'm pretty sure everything I buy from this individual is going to be quality. Right? You ever get that feeling? Like, yeah. So I went home and, like the pair of boots I thought were new. They weren't new. The Star Wars shoes that I thought were a certain type. Nope, not it either. The inflatable I bought, they didn't work. Actually, I think they like hot glued the electrical to get it to work. Didn't work.
You got hoodwinked.
I did. Now, am I still going to make profit? Yeah, I'm going to still make profit because I bought low. But man, I just had this terrible feeling. Because I remember the guy gave me such a hard time about like how much I wanted. Because he initially wanted like 400 and I went to like, I was thinking like 150 and he wasn't happy with my 150. And I'm like, I should just stuck to my 150. Now, I went up to 175, but I didn't get everything I wanted. So, I mean, I was even honest with the guy. There was this item he thought was a lot of money, and I showed him in the comps, and the guy had cataracts, and so he's like, "I can't even see that. Can you just tell me how much?"
Ooh, maybe he was testing you. Maybe it was like maybe he wanted to see if you were gonna lie or not.
But I was 100% honest about it. Like I didn't lie about it, And maybe he was hoodwinking me the entire time. I don't know, but it is what it is. Just remember that, people may seem like they're totally selling you something, but there's always a catch. I find there's always a catch. All right. Anyways, what is your random stories here?
So speaking of our Discord, one of the members on the Discord posted a bolo that I thought was pretty cool. And I was at the gym working out, and it was early in the morning, super early in the morning when this came through. And I was like, oh my gosh, should I get this? Should I not get this? It was a Home Depot sale, and it was like crazy, 75% off of this item. And they wanted $50 for it on Home Depot. I was thinking I should be able to probably at least sell this for $130, $140 because they go for $200 new, and I'm getting this new. So
you mean like a cook group?
Is that a cook group thing?
Yeah, somebody finds like a glitch or something. And
yeah, so I mean, I don't know if it was that big. I think it might have just been a sale.
It just cracked me up because when it popped up, instantly I'm like, see, this is what I love is that we don't try to position ourselves like that. But
if it's there, it's there.
But through sharing, it's there.
Yeah, it's there. So it was just kind of cool. And
it was cool. Thank you to you. You know who you are that shared that.
But anyways, I bought it while I'm working at the gym in between sets, and I only did one. I could have potentially bought several more. But I was like, I'm just going to try this with one. I don't really know. Like, I don't know.
I got there after the glitch.
Yeah. So I bought it, and my wife like texts me like an hour and a half later. Did you buy something using PayPal from Home Depot? Like question mark. And I'm like, oh yeah. So I had to like explain to her, like, it was a tip. I got a tip on the internet, like I basically had to like, it's going to be gold.
What does that mean?
but anyway, so it was just cool to get that. So it was kind of random. It's the first time I've like gotten you've actually,
lead.
Yeah, you've given me some leads on sales, but I always get there late. You're like, oh, there's this cool thing happening, with these shoes on whatever. And by the time I get there, because one time it was a site that was selling shoes, and I was and I was going to get some for myself. And yeah, by the time I tried to put it in my cart, they were all sold out and it was done. So I actually got one in time, and I just felt like super great about that. So that was kind of random, but cool. I guess I can mark that off my bucket list. I got I don't know if it was a glitch, but I got a lead that was like a hot deal that normally sells out within like a few minutes, and I got it. So yay for me. And then the other one was, and this is connected to the podcast more than it is to reselling. But I was talking to one of my friends at work today, actually, and we were talking about Office Space. Like Office Space came up, and we're all quoting Office Space things. And he's like, I love the part where they go out and they beat up the printer.
Oh, that's right.
And I was like, oh, you got to see this. So I pulled up our Mug Life video.
Now, how did that go? Because sometimes it can be really awkward.
It was it was funny. He knows I do a podcast, so I showed him the video. And if you haven't seen our Mug Life video, the first portion of the video is, I don't want to say it's boring.
It's Orlando awkwardly showing you how to pack a mug, which is really helpful.
It is helpful, but it's not like riveting entertainment. It's just helpful advice. No. But like the last bit of that video, we go complete Office Space on this mug out in the middle of a baseball field. And it was pretty fun to record. So if you haven't seen that yet, you've got to go watch it. Maybe I'll put the link in the description below, but just type in Pure Hustle Podcast Mug Life and you will find the video. Yes. Just watch the end if you need to. And it's pretty fun. So this was kind of funny to like, oh, Office Space. Oh, you like the printer part? I've got something to show you.
I wish we had the time to make more videos like that. I really do. So, all right. Okay. You good?
I'm good.
All right. Hey, actually today my American Bubble Boy should be showing up.
Nice. Any minute we're going to get here, knock on the door.
We should. Now, I ordered the recycling one because there's still a deal on there. So if you haven't gotten a deal now, the deal with the coupon isn't there, but you can still get a good deal for, I think I got like 300 feet for like, no, more than 300, 700 square feet for $33.99 of recycled bubble wrap. And it was great. And so it'll be here probably any moment while we're recording the podcast today. But if you have not received or not ordered any American Bubble Boy, go on their site and use our promo code Pure Hustle Podcast and get yourself a discount. And even if the discount doesn't work, because sometimes, either you type it in wrong or for a reason it gets glitchy, you're still getting a deal. You're still going to get awesome free 2-day shipping, 1-day shipping, local pickup. Definitely worth your time. But use our link below just so they know that we sent you there and helps us out too. So again, go to AmericanBubbleBoy.com below in the link and get yourself some bubble wrap.
Yeah.
All right, are we ready? Oh, before we talk about some reselling topics, if you're not following us on social media, you should. We are Pure Hustle Podcast on Instagram, Facebook, and TikTok. We are Pure Hustle Cast on Twitter. You could always give us a call, 619-738-1170. That's 619-738-1170. And you can always shoot us an email at purehustlepodcast@gmail.com. That's purehustlepodcast@gmail.com. Please know it's going to take us a couple of days, maybe a few days to get back to you on the email because as we've grown, it's getting more difficult. I mean, I can't even answer DMs on Instagram. Plus, we got the Discord. Yeah, so we got a lot going on. But do appreciate every single one of you that do email us. And also leave us an iTunes review when you get a chance. Yeah. I can't even look at it. So I'm getting a new cell phone. I can't even open like podcast. I can't do anything.
He's got no space on his phone. Like he texted me today and he's like, I'm having like major phone issue. I had a major phone issue. And I'm like, oh my gosh, did you like drop it in the toilet? Like what happened? No, it's full.
64 gigs full.
He can't delete anything. He's a hoarder on the phone too.
Because I like to keep the history. Like I like the history of like I will delete all my pictures from eBay unless it's a unique item. So I'll keep like one picture.
What?
Yeah, because it's the like
post the picture on Instagram and move on.
No, and I'm keeping a lot of those too. But anyways, but So next time, our next theme episode, I would love to read some of the reviews I have not seen on the iTunes reviews. And so please, give us a nice setup there. It helps us to continue being the number one reselling podcast out there. So we appreciate all your support.
Yeah. And since we're the number one reselling podcast in the world and we have a Twitter account, I wonder if we can get Elon Musk on the podcast.
Yeah.
That'd be crazy, huh?
What would we talk about?
You like money?
Some Tesla?
You like money? We sell things and make money. We're like basically brothers. It's pretty crazy, huh? We do the same thing.
It's funny because we get hit up all the time in the emails of people that would be great on our podcast.
Oh yeah.
And you read those and you're like, come on now. Like, you're not a reseller. Like you have nothing to do with the world of reselling. Like, why would you put you on?
It's because they hire a virtual assistant and they send it out literally to thousands of podcasts and YouTube channels and stuff. And so it's like very, unpersonal. It's just,
But they try to make it personal because they do the whole like you didn't.
Hey, Mike and Orlando, haven't heard from you yet. Yes. We love your podcast. You should have this guy on, and he does, and it's like XYZ that has nothing to do with anything that we talk about. And we're like, well, yeah, I don't think that's a fit, but thanks anyways.
Yeah. Now we do plan on doing interviews soon. I don't know what soon means, but soon.
All right, there we go.
So, all right, let's talk about some topics here.
As the economy changes, more and more people are buying secondhand. Amazon is slowing its growth, and there's problems with Facebook Marketplace. Surprise, surprise. Well, we're going to talk about all this and more. Orlando,
wow. That was like the best intro you've given so far.
I think I practiced.
So
I've had 291 episodes of practice.
That is true. That is true. So there's, we kind of had like the storm a little bit, already. We already talked about the eBay seller update and we're still dealing with when's eBay gonna, make people pay, and that's still an issue. So I'm always trying to bring something different because, we can keep talking about the same old. So I always try to keep it fresh. So it's funny because eBay always like releases like reports or studies, but like I don't know about them. Now, maybe it's because I haven't been to the latest eBay seller event that anyone has access to. But they came out with this re-commerce report. So we don't do e-commerce, we do re-commerce. Re-commerce. And I thought it was interesting. I want to share with you some of the results here. So they looked at who's buying pre-owned goods. And in their research over the past 12 months globally, they found that 80%, the top group is Gen Z.
You know what I wish, though? I know we're going to talk more about this, so that's great. But coming from my perspective here, eBay is giving a thing saying, hey, 80% of Gen Z, the highest percentage of any generation, is buying secondhand goods. But they're not saying on their website. It's not like 80% of the purchases on our website or of Gen Z are purchasing. It's just 80% are purchasing. So that includes thrift stores. That includes Poshmark. That includes Mercari. That includes whatnot. So it's like, it's a good number to have, but it's a little skewed. Like, I'd like to know, what is the population on eBay? Is it 20% Gen Z on eBay? Or is it, according to these numbers, it should be at least, 40, 50, 30, 40% should be Gen Z. So that would be, I think, a more helpful number specifically for eBay. But it is an interesting overall when it comes to secondhand goods.
This is where it was interesting too. 78% were millennials, 75% of Gen X, 70% of boomers, and 62% of post-war. So, I mean, I guess the numbers make sense.
And it also makes sense that it drops off too, because there's two reasons.
Yeah.
There's two reasons. One is going to be that more environmentally conscious the younger generation is going to be, and things like that. It's the idea of recycling. And the other thing is going to just be access to money. As people go up in age, their income goes up too. If you just look on average across the board, as people get into their 60s, their 70s, their 50s even, they're making so much more than they were making in their 20s and 30s. And so it would make sense that as people are starting to move up the income bracket, if you look at people who are boomers and they own their home and they're retired and they have everything paid off and they have a good pension, they're probably not worried about, hey, I want to save a little bit of money by buying used shoes. They're just going to go buy shoes.
Yeah. True. Now, that ties into what I think is kind of evident of what I was talking about earlier, how people are buying lower cost items from me consistently. And so they looked at the main reasons why consumers buy pre-owned. And the top one, the 73% of people said that they buy stuff pre-owned because it's less expensive than buying new. And I think that's going to be where, we're edging super close to a recession if we're not already. And I think that's going to be where resellers come in. So before I had mentioned, because of inflation, like make sure you raise your prices. Maybe so. I don't know. I'm kind of going back and forth on that one. In the sense that, if I put best offer, people are still going to, they still have the ability to offer, but am I turning buyers away if a lot of my items are priced too high?
It's kind of a waiting game, I think, specifically when it comes to that. Because I think you still have to be percentage below new. For instance, if you're selling, selling shoes or a jacket might be a better one as an example. I go to the North Face and I buy the jacket from the store and it costs me $200. I can get it used for $75. Well, if now the North Face jacket's new costs $250 because prices have gone up on everything, well, I could probably charge $100 for it used and still be fine. The other thing though is the waiting game of, if you do raise your prices like that to be competitive, you're still percentage wise lower than new, but your competition is still selling as if it was, 2019, 2018, when the economy was booming and, people had more money and all of that stuff and your money was worth more, then I think those sellers are probably going to price themselves out eventually, in the sense of they're not going to be making profit. It's not going to be sustainable. They can't maintain that for long. Just like you're saying, you're already having to sell more items to make the same.
Yeah.
Imagine if you had to sell an additional 30% more to make the same. You can only do that for so long before you're like, I'm done doing this. It's just not worth the effort. And so because your money is worth less, $300 a day profit is significantly less today than it was 3 years ago. So yeah, you can only do that so long. So yeah, you might be pricing yourself too high in the short term, but your competition eventually is either going to raise their prices, I would imagine, or be done reselling, because the profit just won't be there for them long term.
Yeah, it's interesting because as I was dealing with this last week, where I just kept listing and I kept shipping and I kept listing, I kept shipping, I was busy. I've not been that busy in a long time. I kept hearing, I remember hearing this like 2 years ago. A lot of people that got out of selling on eBay is that they felt that you never stop. Like you're constantly, like it's always maintenance. And so they got into doing like private label, or they got into real estate or whatever it is. And I think there's some truth to that. I think with, I'm not, and again, I'm not trying to throw shade at anyone, but there's a lot of people that talk about like, hey, they list hundreds of items a day and, they spend, I don't want to be that. I can't be that person. That's not in me. I could list maybe at the most 30 a day, maybe 30 a day. And cause I value, and granted, some of those people have been able to do it within hours and like they're done by like 3 o'clock and they have the rest of the evening. But I just like the flexibility of like, I don't have to be as rigid with my schedule. Like, and I do list every day. Usually I list between 11 p.m. and 1 a.m., which is not the best of times. But, I don't want to treat, if I'm just listing and shipping 9 to 5, I'm back to a 9 to 5. And that's not what I got into reselling for. So anyways, let us know your thoughts on that one. All right. So there's a few other things in the report. You can look up the report. Just type in eBay re-commerce report on Google. Did you know that USPS first class is later now? Like it's going to take longer for stuff to get there.
Wait a minute. So they're charging more and it's going to take longer?
Yes.
Why am I not surprised?
And that started a few days ago, May 1st. So it's interesting. What I like is the numbers that they gave. They said that they said the agency expects a new service standard will impact 32% of first class package service volume. So obviously they know that, right? They have like some algorithms that are running or something. The new standard will allow USPS to add an extra day or two to deliver these packages and still consider them on time. So, and it's interesting because I wonder how much longer we are going to have first class. The reason being is that If you get up into the higher ounces, like 13 to 16 ounces, it's already like 6 something. You're pretty close to sending stuff in a flat rate envelope, a priority envelope. So I don't know, just be aware of that. What does that mean? I think what that means, on the practical level is you need to be aware that if you are, sending items that are in a highly like competitive field, you might be better off offering expedited shipping because it'll separate you from the competition. And it might cost you an extra couple bucks, but you may make more profit by implementing that. At the same time, I've always said, if you ship out anything that's over $50, might as well go priority because it on eBay, I know automatically it gives you $50 insurance. I think if you're top rated, I don't know what exactly the why, but I get like $100 insurance for anything that that I ship priority right away. So just something to think about. But yeah, it's crazy. And by the way, I want to make this clear. There was a huge discussion on Instagram about this, that whenever we think that the post office is a terrible organization, it's not aimed at the individual workers, the day-to-day they're delivering the mail. Like, I have so much respect. A lot of you listen to our podcast and our resellers on the side. I'm talking about the poor leadership decisions that are being made that is causing the USPS not to improve, while FedEx and UPS are finding ways to improve.
Yeah, and I think a good example of that, like how we can hold both views and be okay. Like, Orlando and I are both educators, and we both have serious gripes and complaints about the current educational system, the way things are run. So as far as teachers, though, there's so many great teachers. So it's not like, hey, I hate teachers. It's just the system is broken. And I think the same thing is true with the post office and the way they're doing things. It's the workers themselves. I mean, we love our mailman. Our mailman leaves dog bones in the mailbox every once in a while for our dog. Like, really? What a nice guy. You know what I mean? He gave my son like a Christmas like card with like some stuff. He gave him to all the kids in the neighborhood. Like, so the people are great for sure. But yeah, there's definitely things that, it stinks to pay more for less. But people, it's the world we live in, I guess.
Yeah, agreed. So along with that, or not along with that, Amazon reported lower earnings as far as their business goes. Now, I'm not just referring to, their web services or their Prime and all that, but I'm referring to just their e-commerce. Amazon said it lost money during the first quarter and gave a forecast that said it may see another loss in the current period. Sales will be as much as $121 billion in 3 months ending in June, missing analysts' average estimates of $125 billion. It's an unwelcome development for Chief Executive Officer who has inhabited the top job for less than a year and signaled it would take time for a company to get a hand on economic pressures and the overall built logistics network that is hampering Amazon's productivity. So some of the issues that they had they hired a ton of people because of COVID, and now they don't need that group of people, and sales are declining. But I think it's very telling. So I wish we recorded this podcast later because the eBay and Etsy earning reports are going to show up after, like a day or two after we drop this episode. I believe it's May 5th or May 4th. But I think it's very telling, again, that there's going to be a need to adapt during this reselling market. Yeah, things are changing.
It's just a clear indication that the economy is going down. People are not spending as much. And so what does that mean for us as resellers? People are still buying, but not as much. And I think what's kind of interesting and scary, because there's the reselling aspect. I'm assuming most of our listeners invest in one way or another. We've given advice as we've read books and things as far as you should be investing in types of investment, but we haven't said like, hey, put your money in this type of fund, or like we've never done that. But the weird thing is, if you were to look on social media or just in general on the internet, everybody's an investment expert. And part of it is because we've lived through a time,
especially on TikTok.
Yeah. I mean, if
everybody is
for the last almost 20 years. I mean, it's not quite 20 years, but for a little under 20 years.
Let's just talk about the last year.
Well, but what I'm saying though is for the last almost 20 years, we have been in like a crazy growth economy. Things have been, maybe it's like 16 years, something like that. Our economy has just been up. Things have been going great. And so almost nobody has experience, unless you talk to somebody who was investing or really hardcore reselling. And there's some of you out there during the 2007. And most of that was like, there was an economy crash, but it was a somewhat of a recession. But I think we potentially could be going into the first time a lot of us are really experiencing this as adults that are like invested. Like, I was, you know, in my late teens, early 20s when the 2007 thing happened, but you know, you got your head in the sand. You're a kid. Things are going.
Even 08. I mean, I was an adult. I was like 20. I don't know. I was like 27, 28. But at that time, you weren't
worried about the stock market.
No, I didn't do any of that. You know, and part of it was my financial illiteracy. Like I didn't look into all that. But I was just happy with my teaching job, and my teaching job was still going on. And as long as I was able to pay the bills, that's all that mattered. But you know.
So yeah, it's just all that to say.
But I'm noticing it now.
Yeah, none of us, not none of us, but many of us really don't know what to expect. And so all the people who are experts, it's easy to be an expert when everything is going up.
Yeah.
And not a lot of people know how to make money when the market goes down. However, that is when the majority of wealth transfers hands in the world, right? Is during a downturn economy. And so how can we be those people? How can we find a way to capitalize on I'm not saying like capitalize, like we're going to take advantage of people in bad situation, but in a situation, there's always going to be a way to be profitable. And so can we do that? Can we figure out how to maneuver and adapt? Because even Amazon, I mean, you look at the behemoth of a company that just seems like nothing could phase it. And then all of a sudden we're hitting 2022 and it's like, yeah, numbers are down and they're going to be down again. And if things keep getting worse, they're probably going to keep going down. Well, Amazon doesn't know how to live through this yet, you know? So everybody's kind of having to figure out how do we make it through this time? But the nice thing is if we make it through this time, we're probably going to come through a lot stronger.
100%. And again, everybody that we talked to when we did interviews about that actual resellers like Amazing Taste Store, Craigslist Hunter, like all these individuals said that during recessions was the time that they were able to actually scale their businesses. So I'm hoping for the same. We'll see. All right. Hey, the last thing here. So it's interesting. So I've always said that I believe Facebook Marketplace is a fail. I've always said that since day one. And the reason being is, yes, does Facebook like rule the world in a way that like, you know, they have the most amount of users and there's a lot of people on there. But I've always said like there's a lot of issues. Like, you know, if you have shipping issues, how do you deal with that? How do you deal with customer service? How do you deal with customer complaints? Like there's so many things that Facebook just hasn't taken care of. And it's interesting. There's a report that came out that they're having major problems in their leadership. And so they said some retailers say they are frustrated by Meta's, which is Facebook now. So Facebook's e-commerce rollout, noting that the service is missing basic components such as ability to display. This is from the Wall Street Journal. As the ability to display products in different colors and sizes, limit where a merchant can ship items, provide next day or same day deliveries. Other stores, though, see the promise of connecting with shoppers through the large user base of Facebook and Instagram, which I've always said, yeah, you can connect with a lot of people. But at least 5 senior executives have left in the past 6 months, according to their senior former executive. But Facebook is still confident. They said building a full-fledged commerce platform is a multi-year journey, one that became a company priority less than 2 years ago. And so they seem to be struggling. Let us know in the comments. Do you find Facebook Marketplace to be it? The one time I found that Facebook Marketplace was something that everybody was in love in was when they were offering like free shipping. You know, do you remember that period of time? Yeah. I think it was like a month.
Yeah. I feel like I look at Facebook Marketplace like OfferUp, just another OfferUp. And so,
but you don't see it as an online.
No. And I know that there are people who do, and I know there are people who sell through Facebook Marketplace in that way. But for me, I see Facebook Marketplace as a local deal only. So the chances of scams, you get flaked on, but the chances of like the scamming or just the logistical issues aren't the same. And so I kind of feel like that's almost either Facebook Marketplace needs to address all these issues or just needs to realize we are OfferUp, but we have the ability to like connect to maybe more people because there's a lot of people on Facebook who aren't necessarily on OfferUp and searching OfferUp. And we already have the platform. People are on Facebook scrolling for things. And if they've already looked up lawn chairs and you've got some lawn chairs posted and all of a sudden they're showing up in your feed every once in a while. So they have the huge marketing potential. The thing is, do they make money off of people selling locally? Well, just through traffic on their website in the same way they make money with people. So
I think they make money through. As always, they make all their money through ads.
Yeah. So it's a tough thing, especially when it's the ads a lot of times, which are the problem. Now, if it was like OfferUp where you could boost on Facebook Marketplace, maybe you can, but where I boost this item and it's going to start showing up in people's feeds if they are, so it's almost like I become the ad and I'm paying for an ad spot. That would be maybe a little bit more beneficial. Facebook Marketplace just have to figure out who they are as a company. Do they want to be eBay or do they want to be OfferUp and do one of the other better or try,
Yeah. I just want to challenge people. Like if you find that, you're spread too thin, like, there's big proponents of cross posting. And I think there's a place for cross posting, but I'm also a big proponent. Like if you just hunker down on one platform and you make that platform, work for you, like you just list and don't do anything stupid, that you can definitely make it work for you, So yeah, that's all I got for reselling topics. So, there's one thing I did forget though today. Mike, you skull shaved today.
Oh yeah, I skull shaved real good.
I forgot.
You did forget, I can tell.
Well, I was running late to the podcast and I was going to do it in my car on the way and then I forgot my skull shaver. But if you want to look smooth like Mike, go to skullshaver.com, use our promo code HUSTLE with a capital H, get that discount and look smooth like Mike.
Yeah.
So, all right. Hey, what are you looking forward to here, Mike?
We're totally missing something.
Are we? Oh, wait.
Bolo.
What's your bolo?
I'm not going to let you forget the bolo.
I'm tired. It's been a long day. I've been listening.
It's all right. All these people who've waited to this moment to get their bolo. We're not going to cheat them.
They shut down. They're not even listening anymore. They're like, what? No more bolos? All right. What's your bolo?
All right. So you talk about Hawaiian shirts a lot, specifically Rain Spooner. And I remember how excited I was the first time I found a Rain Spooner. I remember I had cars on it. But there's other brands that do pretty well too. In fact, I recently sold one and I had no idea that like this was like a thing. And the funny thing is you've mentioned it, I'm sure, on the podcast before. But we talk about so many things and it was probably years ago when I was first starting reselling. So I didn't remember everything you said, but I picked up this shirt it was probably $2 at a thrift store. And it was a Paradise Found Hawaiian shirt. And if you don't know, Paradise Found shirts are kind of like the shirts that were worn in Magnum PI. And I know that's a show I just thought that was something like my great grandparents watched, but I guess.
Well, I didn't. I watched it on syndication.
Okay. But yeah, if you're young and fresh like me,
oh my goodness,
just Google Magnum PI and you'll know the kind of shirts. But they're pretty. They stand out. I think I'd be able to spot a Paradise Found now pretty easily, just like the style of the shirt. But yeah, it sold for really good. I think what did it sell for? It was like $50 with the shipping, I think. But I paid $2 for it. And just to think, like it didn't even have the tag for the size on it. We just did measurements and we're like, based on the measurements, we think it's an extra large. Here are the measurements. And it sold for really good money. In fact, it sat for a while though. It sat for like 3 years in my storage. And the funny thing was
3 years, you get on my case, but you also have stuff that's been sitting for 3 years.
Yeah, that's true. But it's funny because my father-in-law has recently lost, quite a bit of weight and he likes to wear Hawaiian shirts. And so we saw it in the shed the other day and we're like, oh, we should maybe just give this to Dad. And then like 3 days later it sells. So like, oh, well, I guess we're not doing that. But yeah, so Paradise Found, check it out. It's a brand other than Rain Spooner that does sell for very good money. And
I would, to jump onto your bolo, I would look up all brands right now, except for like Natural Issue, which is a Walmart brand. And there's a couple other brands. Oh, like Campia, I think is the other one I wouldn't look up. But here's the thing. I'm finding that there's like prices are going back up again for Hawaiian shirts. So where Harley, it's kind of, leveled down a little bit. Hawaiian shirts are coming back up, right? But it all depends on the right shirt. I sold like some Coco Island Hawaiian shirts recently. I'm like, what is this brand?
Nice.
So, but I only paid $1, so I didn't mind selling it for 30 something. All right. So my bolo is industrial mixers. And specifically, I mean like milkshake. So have you ever picked any of those up? You ever seen them?
A milkshake one?
So
I've seen them at like, places, but
even like Hamilton Beach. Like obviously you have to look it up, but I gotta tell you that the industrial ones, the ones that like could do 3 milkshakes at a time or more, like they go for good money and they sell pretty fast. Every single time I picked one up, probably sold within 48 hours. And so keep an eye out for those. They're good money. And you know, everybody knows about like Blend Tech and Vitamix, but if you find like the commercial Vitamix, the ones that they use like at the smoothie like shops in the mall, those are good money. I remember way back in the glory days of garage selling 5 years ago, I picked up 8 of them at $20 a piece and I sold each of them for $200 to $300. That was back then. So I wonder what they go for now, but because I haven't seen them in a while, right? And so scarcity brings prices up. So definitely keep an eye for like industrial mixers.
It's good stuff.
All right. So what are you looking forward to here?
Believe it or not, I'm going to take a weekend off.
Good for you.
Yeah, I'm going to take a weekend off.
More for me.
Yeah, I guess so. Every weekend I've been either listing, sourcing, working on selling the fifth wheel, which is finally done out of my life. I've been busy, like just beyond busy. And that's fine. Like I said at the beginning of the episode, if you don't sacrifice for what you want becomes sacrifice. However, it's been a while since I've actually just said, you know what, I'm gonna take a weekend and I'm just gonna spend time with the family. And because this weekend is Mother's Day, I'm gonna be doing. You talked about Traeger. We have a Traeger, and I
have one.
I have an amazing rib recipe, like the best ribs. Not the Traeger 321. Those are they're okay. They're not bad ribs, but the greatest rib recipe ever. And I'm gonna make some for my wife and my mother-in-law, and it's gonna be a great weekend. So I'm excited for that. And I guess I'm saying this because I know a lot of our listeners, and I can tell in our Discord, there's a lot of hard working people out there that are working all the time, and there's nothing wrong with that. But occasionally, you got to stop and enjoy the fruits of your labor. If you're not doing that every once in a while, you're just working to work. So I'm gonna take a weekend off.
Good for you. Yeah, I can't. Not right now, but I will. I mean,
you can't during Q4. When can you?
But I always travel though. I'm always somewhere.
Yeah, you take time off. Just not weekends. You take days during the week sometimes off.
Yeah, I'm more of a like vacation in the week kind of guy.
Yeah, I can't.
Yeah, I know.
See, that's the hard part. Being a teacher is I can do that during the breaks, but that's when everybody else is traveling.
I mean, I do have my one day where I teach homeschool, but outside of that, yeah, the other days I go. Now, I'm kind of taking a break, and I'm in the sense that I'm taking a break from sourcing except for garage sales this week and the next week. And the reason being is that I grew too fast. What I mean by that is I had a period of time in January, February where I was just sourcing. And I was listing. And it finally caught up that I was not staying organized. For example, today. So one of the reasons I was running late is that I sold a buckle for like $90 and it was a great sale, but it took me 45 minutes to find it. For some reason, I didn't put the custom SKU label. So I'm looking. And you know how it is when you lose something, you should slow down when you're looking for it. I instead was like, I need to find this fast. And I went through the same box like 3 times until I finally saw it. And so I need to organize. Mike can attest to this. I got stuff everywhere and it's driving me crazy. Now, luckily, I've had some great hauls. If you caught our Instagram, I bought a whole tote full of train stuff, like probably like 100 items. And so I'm not too stressed that I can go a few days without sourcing. I have, my rooms of stuff. And so I got a lot going on that I don't really need to source, but source is what keeps me motivated. Like if I don't source, like I can't be one of those guys that has like pallets coming in and Gaylords. And man, I'd quit reselling really fast because it's boring to me. Like I like the getting out there, finding stuff, connecting with people. It's just like what I think if I started going to flea markets, I'd be hooked. And I think that's one of the reasons I don't go. But maybe I need to go there soon. So yeah, I'm just looking forward to organizing. And I also need to prep for Amazon. I want to make June a big Amazon month because of Prime. And so I need to start thinking about sourcing for there. So that's what I plan on doing.
I like it.
All right. Hey, thank you to all of you that tuned in. If you haven't yet caught us on Discord, make sure to sign up. Go to Pierce the Podcast / Patreon and sign up for. You just got to go to the basic tier of $5.55 and you're in. So thank you to all of you and all your support, and hope you have a great week. And as always, make sure to be real,
be relevant,
and be reselling late.
Peace.